Hi and welcome back. My name's Faye and I'm a UK-based wedding photographer, and this is my space to try and connect with other wedding photographers wherever you might be in the world and just try and share little bits that I do that I think will help you at whatever stage you're at in your photography journey. Today I'm coming to you live from a hotel that I've wanted to travel to forever. It's called Villa Lena and it is in the middle of the Tuscan countryside, I guess you would say. Say middle, it's like at the top of a bloody mountain, and we had to go on quite a few dirt track roads to get here. But we're here, we made it all in one piece. Not quite sure how I'm going to cope getting home on the said same dirt tracks after the wedding this weekend, but we'll see. But whenever I go away for destination weddings, I use it as an excuse to try and check out other hotels that I've got on my radar. I'm a bit obsessed with hotels. It's like my biggest pastime probably. Travelling, finding niche places to visit, really obsessed with interiors and hotels. So yeah, that's a little bit. And if you are interested in that kind of thing too, definitely give me a follow on Faye Travel, because that's where I share little bits of joy that I find when I'm out and about. It's definitely more of a personal account, whereas this is education, and then obviously Faye Photography is all about the weddings and that sort of content. Let's dive in. What is an ideal client? How do you find them? How do you figure out who yours is? And then once you've found them, how do you attract them to inquire with you and then ultimately convert them into booked clients? And the first thing that I'm going to preface with is that I literally remember when I first started in weddings in 2017, doing a Facebook course. I was all about business course. I just wanted as much information as I could get my teeth into. And I remember doing a really intense 4-hour workshop, I think it was, all about your ideal client. And it was basically imagining your ideal client, putting them in this box. How old are they? What interests do they have? Where might they work? What are they spending their money on? And I think I remember coming away from that workshop feeling super happy, like, oh my God, my ideal client is 27 to 29. They work in London, they love going on holiday, and blah, blah, blah. And whilst that's not completely irrelevant, because that's going to help you to optimise things like ads, knowing all of that superficial information is not going to be enough to help you find your people and convert them. Because to be honest, I've got the best couples in the universe and they've got absolutely nothing in common. And I think it just took me a few seasons of trying to put them into this box to realise that my best couples literally could not be more different from each other if they tried. So I'm going to try and break it down and give you some practical advice on what I do, things that work for me. I always say this, but please just remember that I do not think I'm the oracle of weddings. I'm literally just showing up because when I first started in weddings, I had no bloody idea what I was doing, and YouTube was the source of all of my information. So even if you take one thing from any of my videos, then I know that it was worth me showing up for you. Like, ultimately, somebody is not going to book you because you use the same face cream as them. It's always a little bit deeper. So I'm going to show you some practical steps that you can take to really connect with your couples and convert them into booked clients. Now, put simply, and this is something that I talk about in my course Align, which is coming back soon, by the way, so if you're not already on the mailing list, definitely join. And I also talk about it in one-to-one mentoring. Put simply, an ideal client is anyone that will pay you sustainable rates to create work that you are obsessed with. And by you being obsessed with it, that is important, because there's another really famous quote, I don't know who said it, but I use it all the time. We do not burn out by making art, we only burn out by making content. So if we can find those clients that are obsessed with all of the same things that we are, they've curated bridal fashion that we're obsessed with, maybe we've got some cool tailoring, maybe there's like loads of, I don't know, at the moment I'm obsessed with sparkles, so maybe they're getting married at the seaside and you can see all the water sparkling in the background of the photos. Niche, I know, but it doesn't need to make sense to anyone but you. An ideal client is somebody that's going to get you in and they're going to trust you implicitly to create work that you're obsessed with whilst paying you rates that are going to feed your kids, pay bills, and help you make a decent living so that you're not having to do 100 weddings a year just to cover your basic style of living. So I guess there's two different ways of going about this. The first thing is you really need to get to grips with how much you need your business to make to fulfill a lifestyle that you like. It's really important, because what is great for a photographer that you admire might not actually be the same for you. For example, you might absolutely love the aesthetic of epic destination weddings, but actually you've just had your second child. That's not in your orbit right now. Actually, what would suit you a lot better is being able to pick your kids up from school and to be home with your family. That's more important to you. Maybe that's a pipe dream for 5, 6, 7 years down the line, but right now that that doesn't suit you. Maybe you are desperate for adventure. Maybe like you're desperate to see the world. So embedding lots of destination into your work, into your orbit is really important to you because you just want to get out there. You've got so much gusto to see the world. So you know that that is something that's really, really important to you. And you're going to show loads of destination to try and attract more of that work. Every single one of you watching this video, you will have different priorities in life. So the first thing, before you can figure out what this ideal client looks like, is what do you actually want from your business? What do you want your life to look like? How much do you want to travel? How easy do you want things to be? If you have got quite a simple way of living, if you shop thrifted, if you prefer cooking, you don't eat out, if you're a homebody and you don't go out loads, chances are you're going to need to generate less income from your business than somebody down the road that always wants to have the latest gizmos and gadgets. I can't believe I've just said gizmos and gadgets. I'm turning into my mum before my very eyes. If you have got a more modest lifestyle, you're not going to need to do as much work to generate the same quality of life, is basically the point that I'm making. Whereas if you want to be Saint-Tropez with the girls one week and then, I don't know, Capri with the other girls the week after, random like example. But if that's what you want from your business, then you're going to need to generate a lot more from your business, and that is what sustainability looks like to you. So the first thing in the path to finding your ideal client is actually figuring out what you need from your business, and it will not look like any of your friends. I talk a lot in mentoring and even Align, to be fair, about my 3-girl group chat. We could not be more different if we tried. Me and T are quite similar. We were friends first. Abby actually came into and turned into a throuple when they covered a wedding for me when I had my hip replacement, and the throuple was born. And I can't even tell you what the throuple is called right now because the 3-girl group chat changes names more time than I can count. But within that group, whilst there are a lot of similarities and our moral compass is very similar and the way that we want to raise our kids can be quite similar, we could not be more different. So this is something that you need to come to on your own, figure out what you want from your business, and then you can start putting in the foundations to get everything else. So you've sat with it, you've thought about what sort of lifestyle you want. This is really important. Stories are a great place for you to connect with couples on a deeper personal level. So how can anybody fall in love with the work that you're obsessed with if you're not putting it out there into the universe? And it doesn't necessarily mean doing lots of styled shoots or styled workshops. It could just be that, for example, earlier on I mentioned sparkles. At the moment, I'm obsessed with sparkles. So I'll put them on my story. I love going to a restaurant and sitting down and having immaculate glassware. Like the glassware and the crockery is important to me. So I'll put nice glassware and crockery on my stories. Your stories are such a lovely window into who you are as a person, and the things that you think are cute, your ideal client will find that cute as well. Like most of the stuff that I chit chat with to my couples that got married 2-3 years ago that I'm still talking to, it's not about my work. They're not there for my work. They're still following me because of my personality and who I am. So using your stories as a little window into your personality is really good. Yes, it's predominantly for business and you still need to show up with practical things. There's so much that we could talk about Instagram. This is not that. But using your stories to show off little bits of personality, that's a good way of connecting with your ideal client. That's quite surface level. The big thing is going to be the work that you're sharing. And basically, to be able to do that effectively, you need to know your brand identity as a business. Things that would affect your brand identity. Who do you want to serve? Are you fluid? Are you open? Would you be comfortable doing LGBTQI plus weddings? Which hopefully the answer is yes, because if it's not, you're probably not on the right channel. Like, what's important to you as a person, because ultimately you are the extension of your brand. How open do you want to be? If you know, for example, like me, it's so important for me to know that everybody feels safe when they look on my page and they feel represented. I do not organically get a lot of plus size couples. It just doesn't happen. So when I organise the Faye World workshops, I make a really conscious effort to not just use people of all shapes and sizes, but to also use real couples. I very rarely use editorial models. I most of the time use previous couples that I've met organically through doing their wedding, and I will rope them in to come back and model for me. That's really important to me because I don't think you need to look a certain way to have a shit hot wedding, to look great, to feel great on your wedding day. And I really want to celebrate everybody. Last week, I worked with a videographer for the first time. He basically said that I'd changed his perspective, and there was a little bit of discussion about how important it is the way that I direct my couples, and not just my couples, but my guests at weddings as well. And I was saying that if I leave the wedding, any interaction that I've had with anybody around me, I want them to come away from that interaction feeling super positive and super confident. That is one of my brand values. I want to be positive and radiate joy, because a wedding is first and foremost a happy celebration of two people finding their counterpart. And I know that sounds a bit woo, but it's not just a party. Like, predominantly, like, the design matters, the fashion matters, all of this stuff, of course it is important, but how fucking cool is it that they found someone that they want to marry? Like, that's the long and short of it. Or the guests are an extension of the couple, right? So if you're putting all of your eggs into the couple's basket and you're doing this, that and the other, but you're not doing that same thing for their guests, what's the point? Like, by the time I leave wedding prep for whoever it is that I'm covering in the morning, I will know all of the wedding party's names. I'll know their pronouns. Sometimes it's more obvious than others if you need to ask what somebody's pronouns are, but I will always make sure that I have those conversations before the day. I will leave that wedding prep feeling really confident that everybody in that room feels really special. Learning their name is the minimum thing that you can do. And to be honest, that's something that came from teaching, because I remember going as a head of department, going into lesson observations and watching teachers lead subjects that they've been teaching, let's say, for 6 months, and they didn't know some of the kids' names in the group. And I just thought that was absolutely atrocious. Like, number one thing for behaviour management is learning their names. That's the easiest way to coerce them into doing whatever you want them to do, which sounds so dodgy and so manipulative, but it so extends to weddings. And so often, a lot of the people management skills that I think I have, I've brought from teaching. Like, ultimately, teaching, you're walking into a room of up to 35 students and you are assessing what you need to do to get them to learn, access the education, and then you do it and you put on a show. And who you are from year 7 bottom set in the morning to year 11/6th form in the afternoon, or maybe even period 1, period 2, you're completely shape-shifting every time that you walk into a different room. And that is definitely something that I've taken into weddings. And part of my brand values is making sure that everybody around me feels safe. And only then do I know that I can get those relaxed, lovely photos, because everybody around me feels safe. So assess what your brand values are. How do you want people to feel when you walk into the room? Is it really important that they feel safe? Would you prefer to be more of a fly on the wall? Do you want to be unobtrusive? Do you want to help people feel confident and direct them and hype them up? Would you prefer to take more of a backseat and just watch from, the sidelines, not interfere, but have a gentle word of encouragement every now and again? I like to think that I read the room quite well. It is definitely the biggest skill when you are a wedding photographer, being able to read the room and ascertaining what that room needs. So often I will walk out of the room and then I'll say to my second shooter, there's too much energy in this room, let's get out. Of course, not audible in front of the couple. But if one of the couple is having a genuine moment, which feels like the end of the world for them, you don't need to be in there giving your 5 cents. Half the time you can get out. So again, my brand values comes down to, it's really important to me that the wedding is the wedding and the photos happen about the wedding. The photos aren't the priority. If in the build up to the wedding, I can see that it's just becoming a bit like a Pinterest board and everything's just about the way things look, I'll try and coerce that couple away from that as much as I can before the day, and I'll always have those conversations before the day. And because we've got that ongoing relationship, I feel like my couples are quite receptive because they know it's coming from a good place, and that's really important to me. Other things that you might consider with your brand values is how eco-friendly do you want to be? Some of my friends, for example, love to do destination, but they won't because they don't want to get on flights. And that's completely fair enough. It's whatever it is to you. Another extension of your brand identity and your brand values is the aesthetic and like with that, what sort of style you think your work falls into. And this is really difficult for someone like me because I don't feel like I am editorial or documentary or storytelling or all of these things. I think I'm reactive and in the moment, and I just do whatever I have to do to get a gallery together that reflects who the couple are and what the day is all about. And I feel like I do that because I get to know them in the build up to the wedding. So when it gets to the day, I know who went on their hen do, I know who their most important people are, I know if there's family dynamics, and it's really important to me to know that information. And I really, really struggle when I go to weddings as a second shooter and I don't have that relationship with the couple. I find it really, really hard and I don't enjoy it. And a lot of people say to me all the time, like, that's way too much work. And I'm like, yeah, I agree, it's a lot of work, but I've tried it both ways and I know that this is what's important for me. And just again, like, just because somebody else says they wouldn't do that, that's fine, let them do them, like, let them live, like, this is your thing, you do it however you want to do it. If you're noticing things that make you happy and bring you joy when you're working with your couples, make a note of it, do more of that. Same breath, if the stuff that isn't bringing you joy isn't making you happy, then you know that that's something that's not going to form part of your brand identity and part of the way that you communicate with your couples and the way that you operate your business. The great thing about being your own boss is that you get to decide what works for you and what doesn't. So we've thought about what we want from our business, we've thought about our brand identity, our brand values, and now it's time to start curating a portfolio that's going to reflect those values. And there's two parts to this, the visuals and the copy. And this is something that needs to be consistent across your entire portfolio. Now, I am going to go over this quite quickly because this is something that we could talk about for like hours and hours and hours. This is actually in Align, my course for photographers. This is a whole module just on curation, and then a whole other module on conversion, which is where the copy comes into it. But just as a brief overview, your portfolio needs to demonstrate all of the different things that you love to shoot as a photographer, and your copy needs to reflect the brand values that we've spoken about. So let's start with the portfolio. Everybody knows that a wedding photographer takes photos of a couple. If you want to stand out from 90% of the other photographers on Instagram, do not keep posting pictures of a couple walking up and down. I don't even want to see a couple. I know that you can do couple shots. Like, I get it. You're a wedding photographer, you're great. Why are you sharing loads and loads of couple shots? And this is like probably the biggest thing that I see when I do Instagram audits. Everybody's Instagram looks exactly the same. Not just that they're just showing couples, but even down to the square and like the position, where the couple is within that square, the composition, the size of the couple within that square. It's literally like copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste with a rogue bouquet or a rogue something else. And then they think, no, I'm showing diversity because I've included a bouquet or whatever. It's just not enough. Everybody knows that if you're a wedding photographer, you can take a nice picture of a couple, like God hope. And in this day and age where people are consuming so much content, if they can see on your first grid, your top 9, 18, whatever, is the same composition, same kind of thing, why would they keep scrolling? Because they've seen everything that they need to see. So the first thing is to make sure that you are diversifying your portfolio and choosing various details. Like the couple's portraits take up about 5 to 10% of the day, depending on how much time you give to that section of the day. There is so much more. If we take everything back to the start, weddings are predominantly a celebration of two people who have found each other, and they get together with all of their favourite humans in the universe to celebrate that love. So why aren't you showing the humans that they've chosen to celebrate? Why are you not choosing the pearls that grandma gave? Why are you not choosing the hand embroidered handkerchief that got dad to have an absolute meltdown and then talking about it in your stories? Like, in every single wedding, there will be things that touch you on a deep personal level. These things will be informed by who you are, how you were raised, how you grew up, where you grew up. So many different things have made you who you are and have made you like the music that you like. And, you know, I could go on and on. What makes you tick is not the same as what makes your best mate tick. So show off what makes you tick, because the couple that have spent £12,000 on flowers getting imported from God knows where, you might be obsessed with that same flower. And because you've shown loads of it, that couple is like, we're going to go get this photographer because they really care about this and I really care about this, so they're going to document something that's really important to me. If you've got a couple that have spent $6,000 getting artisan stationery, letterpressed, brought in from America, and they can't see any stationery on your portfolio, chances are they're not going to book you. They're going to go for somebody that shows off more details, because if that's really important to them, they're going to go with somebody that's going to actually document it, because the photos are the most tangible thing, and everybody knows that the typical order for most people, obviously some people don't, they get the dress or whatever, but most people go venue, photographer, and that's fact. Like, everything shows, even with all the trends changing, that is still the most common order for people to book their suppliers. So if they know that they can't see what they're looking for in your portfolio, it's not going to happen. And I'm just going to share one more thing that I said to a mentee recently. If you've got 18 pictures that are the same, you've got one chance only for somebody to fall in love with your work. If those 18 pictures, however, reflect all of your different interests, not all, because you don't want to go on too crazy, but say, for example, with me, you should be able to tell right from the word go that I love travel and I love fashion. That should be pretty evident in my work. Next thing would be the party. Bloody love the party. I always stay really late, especially for destination. Quite often I'll be there until the end. I loved dance in my free time. It's not about me, but I love to dance and I love to party, and I share that, and you can tell that I love it. I've even started sharing a few more sneak peeks of me dancing on the dance floor. I did it when, at the time of recording, I literally did like a summary of my time in Italy so far 2 days ago, and so many of my couples have commented on it, like, yeah, Faye on the dance floor, like, I still remember this from my wedding, and I've had DMs and stuff. So again, it's an opportunity for you to show things that you really, really love, and then the right people will see that, and that's what will hook them in. In terms of your copy is a really good opportunity. If the images haven't made it obvious enough, your copy is a really good place to solidify that. Use the copy to talk about why you love this set of images so much, what was so special about so-and-so's wedding morning, or what was so special about the dress, or what was so special about XYZ. And the XYZ is the stuff that you are most interested about from that day. Because by talking about that, if it's not already obvious in the photos, the couple are going to think, wow, that's really important for me. I think this person might be my photographer, and that's how you're going to get the conversion. So the last thing that I'm going to talk about as like a bit of a bonus is social proof. Once you've hooked them in, you're showing off all this stuff that you love, you're extending that with the copy. Social proof is a really good thing that you can add on to the back of it, just to show people that you're a real person, that you exist, and that you're not going to run off with all their money. Because when it comes to any investment, although I hate that word because it makes it sound so deep, and at the end of the day, we are just providing incredible service, but it is an investment for so many people, especially in this day and age. If you're doing things like destination, half of the fee we don't even see, it's just covering expenses, and that's getting passed on to our couple. So yeah, it's a big consideration, and showing off things like social proof is a really good idea, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy. It can just be sharing screenshots on WhatsApp. I find convert really, really well because they feel organic. On my website as well, I'll just take little snippets again that speak to my brand identity. So if you were to look on my website, you'll see some examples, and I'll pop some on the screen right now, like this one from Jay, which is talking about how she's in the industry and how she chose me. And then I've got other ones, and I'll just pop up a few examples now so you can see. But the reason why I've got these is because they're speaking about something that I'm really proud of, that I do, because that's what I want to be known for. So I don't want every couple. I just want the couples that are going to care about the same things that I care about. And every single bit of my portfolio, my website, my copy, it's consistent across the board. I want people to know that they are safe, whatever they look like, whoever they love. But I'm particularly obsessed with fashion and travel. Those are like my two pillars, and then the party. And that should come across really, really quickly as soon as you step foot onto my portfolio. It should come across. So yeah, in a nutshell, figure out what you want from your business. Figure out who you are, and then last but not least, curate a portfolio and copy across your website and social media channels that shows that off to prospective clients so that they can fall in love with you. Harness your stories to show off a little bit more personality, inject that personality, because ultimately it's social media. We fall in love with other people, and if we think about people that we love to follow. The worst thing that you can do is talk about things like availability, I can do this, I can do that. It's surface level. Just keep sharing what you love and let people fall in love with you. If there's one bit of advice that I can give you, it would be that. Just show them who you are and give them the chance to fall in love with you. I hope that you found this helpful. Please do consider subscribing if you haven't already, and hopefully see you again soon.